Hey Bandidos, so the patch notes just delivered, but instead of going through all of the patch notes, we're gonna hone in on the nerfs. The nerfs to Ines, the upcoming nerfs to Freyna and Serena. So it seems. Let's do this.
Wait, did we just become best friends? So nice to meet you. I think you're cool.
Brace yourselves, this is going to be a little bit of a rant. Okay, we're gonna start off with Ines's nerf. So Ines hurts, guys. I mean, look at those numbers. So, I mean, the cooldowns are gross. Wow. I mean, it feels like they nerfed her all to hell. Of course, I haven't used her, so I don't want to jump to conclusions too much here. But so I normally run the Time of the Hunting Hounds mod. So the cooldown on Floating Lightning, that's her number 1. They doubled that. Wow. And then the base damage is decreased. So they doubled the cooldowns and then decreased the damage. I mean, that's an all-around hit. And then the additional damage is nerfed too. God, I wonder if she can even keep up like this. So Chain Lightning is her default number 1. So it goes from 7 to 10 seconds. The base damage is 207 to 174. So decrease in that. And then decrease in additional damage to enemies. Lightning Conductor, which is her number 2. That's kind of that whipping motion she does. So, wow, they doubled the cooldown on that. Yikes. MP cost went down a little bit. Base damage went up on that one. Additional damage to enemies inflicted went up, and number of targets went from 3 to 7. That's good. They want us to use that one more, I guess. Snare Hunter, that's the one we love. And this is the one I feel like they're really nerfed. So from 30 to 90 seconds, guys. That's crazy. So I feel like it's no longer spammable. Projectile damage decreased. Continuous damage decreased. Coils decreased. Continuous damage interval. What did they do there? Increased the time between hits. So yeah, that's a nerf. Additional damage to enemies inflicted with Conductor is decreased. Wow. So Chain Lightning and Snare Hunter are the big ones I think that we want to look at because they're the most used. I mean, I do want to use the rest of her kit a little bit more balanced, and I hope that maybe what they did to Lightning Conductor will help us there. We'll see. All right, here's the director's comments. These are always important. Greetings, Descendants. This is the director of the first Descendant, Min-Suk Ju. The balance between Descendants has been an important topic of discussion in the community. Recently, successive releases of new overpowered Descendants such as Ines and Serena have caused some content being cleared way more easily than intended. We're taking this trend seriously, and the rebalance is our first step toward addressing the problem. The rebalancing focused on strengthening relatively underperforming Descendants using as basis the performance of Yesa, Valby, and Haley, who are the current baseline. However, we recognize that for some Descendants, simply tweaking some numbers are not enough to bring out the best in them. We believe that the mechanics of certain skills may need to be reworked to achieve more meaningful performance improvements. I agree. But we had to adjust multiple Descendants simultaneously, and we apologize for focusing on numerical balancing this time. Okay, I get it. We understand that you may find some changes inadequate, true, Jaber, because of that. But we'll continue to review and implement improvements to skill structure and design. But I think we're gonna have a couple of Descendants that will be worth having fun with the current changes, so that's good. Conversely, we determined that some of the Descendants whose performance significantly exceeded the baseline and could impact content structure needed adjustments. Ines is a prime example. I hope she's the only fucking example of this, and her performance is significantly above the baseline. So we made some adjustments in this patch. Freyna's performance is also above the baseline. Seriously, dude, seriously. But not so much that it breaks the flow of the content, so we put the adjustments on hold. Serena is a firearm base dealer who we believe is currently significantly exceeding the baseline. She is. But since she hasn't been released for long, we'd like to see more data before deciding on how to respond. I'll hold my thoughts on that for a second here. So we don't believe we can balance all the Descendants perfectly with this single patch. We'll continue to closely analyze post-patch data and make further adjustments to Descendants that fall short of the baseline or are overperforming based on community feedback. We'll also fine-tune Serena's performance along the way. We're also keenly aware that we've been releasing new Descendants in an overpowered state. While the dev team does hope for the new Descendants to be in the spotlight, we don't want them to be released overpowered to the point of breaking down the content structure. We're looking internally at the reasons for this recurring issue, and we're working to improve our development processes so that we can deliver more stable and balanced content in the future. We're deeply grateful to all players for their continued heartfelt feedback We consider this rebalance a step towards further refining the balance and will continue to make adjustments and improvements based on play data. Okay, we're going to go into this a little deep. We're going to talk about Ines's nerf and what looks like Serena's nerf and Freyna's nerf. Now, they're being nice about it. It looks like they're going to give us a little bit of time. They gave us the same kind of heads up with Ines, and they followed through with it. Based on that pattern, yeah, it looks like Serena and Freyna have a nerf inbound. So as we break that down, I'm going to be testing my current Ines build. It's fully buffed. It's got arcade tuning, level 40. I got all the cores on the weapon. She's fully loaded, max crits. I'm going to take her into a 400% dungeon solo, Sigma sector, solo on hard, and I'm going to do a spec ops solo on hard. And then I'll give you my impressions on her nerf using my current build setup that was designed pre-nerf. Okay, first of all, I know why the Descendants keep getting released overpowered. It's a marketing stunt. So many of the Descendants were underwhelming that everybody was using the metas. So in order to break the meta, they had to create another meta, which is really exciting for the player base, but it's a slippery slope and leads us to where we are today. I think part of the problem is that they go into a lobby and they see everybody running Serena and Ines. That's because a lot of the Descendants since day one have never really felt up to snuff. These later Descendants have felt really good. Sharon has felt good. Ines has felt good. Freyna felt great. Serena felt great. But here's my thing. Despite all the issues the game has, for some reason, I continue to have more fun with each subsequent patch, for the most part, in general. And I find that interesting because I do think most of the Descendants are underwhelming, but the later Descendants feel right. They feel like they're in the right place. It's the content that doesn't feel like it's in the right place. I think the content's too easy. I know we hate to hear that, and I don't want to compare this to other games. It's its own thing. But I'm having fun because the Descendants are engaging. So in my opinion, I think that Ines and Serena are the bar, and I think that's where everybody should be, and the content needs to be stepped up. Big discussions there. But more importantly, the content they've designed is tailored for these specific Descendants. So they redid the spec ops on hard mode, and that was basically tailored around Freyna, and she does really well in those. Then comes Ines for 400% dungeons, for hard spec ops. She did really well in those. It was like her kit was designed for that, and the content was designed for her, including the Void Vessel. And then out comes Sigma Sector. I know that Serena is the best gun Descendant we have in the game, but one of the reasons why I don't think she's actually too strong for the game, even though she's the strongest gun Descendant, is because, yeah, she destroys all that other content like spec ops and 400% dungeons, but that content is fucking easy. Bunny destroys that. Ines destroys it better than Serena, or she did. And same with Freyna. Both of those Descendants can clear the 400% dungeons better than Serena. And Serena's fast and good, and she can keep up. So I'm not saying she's shit at it. I'm saying Ines was, though she was nerfed at least, but she can clear those faster than Serena. And now Ines is nerfed, and now Serena looks like she's the strongest Descendant in the game, but I feel like it's not her fault. So the content that she truly excels at is the Purge. Sure, Void Intercept bosses too, but let's admit it, they're all really easy for endgame builds. Glay can destroy them. Throw Enzo in there, he's fine. Haley, she can destroy him. Sharon can destroy him. Lots of people can destroy them. That's a content issue. It is not a Descendant issue. So this is the problem. We're saying, because the devs told us, that the Void Erosion Purge is the most difficult content in the game, level 30. And we're tugging through with Enzo, Lepic, Haley, Glay, and Sharon. Those are the Descendants that can pull their weight in there. But if you think about it, that's all the gun Descendants we have. All of them. So finally they deliver Serena, and she excels in there, but she's designed to excel in there. She's designed for that content. That content is developed for gun-wielding Descendants, and she is the latest of the gun-wielding Descendants, and they're perfecting their model, where Enzo, Lepic, Glay, Haley, those are earlier versions of Descendants as they've been figuring out how to make better Descendants, where the early ones fell flat. But when they make content that's restricted to either a skill or a weapon wielding Descendant, and then they design the Descendant for that content, yeah, they're gonna kick its ass. What'd you expect? It's no coincidence that Serena excels at the content that was released at the same time she was. So when it comes to the Purge, we say Serena's too powerful, but the vast majority of Descendants can't even go into the Purge because they've done what? Something like 400% nerf on skill power? That's insane. Ines doesn't even have a fucking chance. Freyna doesn't have a fucking chance. Bunny doesn't even have a chance. And it makes her look like a god, but they've also put unnecessary nerfs on the other Descendants. We have Descendants like Haley and Glay. Why are they so fucking slow? Haley's got icebergs for legs. And for some reason, Glay, who's supposed to be like a fucking vampire, who are usually fast, is super slow. If she's frenzied, shouldn't she be moving fast? Why is Serena not slow? I agree she's really strong. I agree she's stronger than Glay and she's stronger than Enzo. I think she should be. And I think they need to step up. More importantly, I don't think it's all just the Descendants. I think the game is too easy. I know we hate hearing that. Using Sigma Sector as the latest content. Before today, in content where both Serena and Ines can be proficient at, Ines was better. Bunny's not that far behind. But yeah, Serena's pretty good. Finally, we have a gun Descendant that could keep up with our AoE skill dealers. Finally. So she's exactly where she needed to be. On par with Ines, but not kicking Ines's ass. Ines was faster. Not anymore, I guess. And we can't use somebody like the Tormentor as an example because that content isn't designed for Ines. Ines doesn't even have a fucking chance in there. You see, all content isn't created equal. So it's really difficult to put all of our Descendants on the same playing field and trying to tier list them out. The Purge is a mobbing dungeon, yet the best mobbers can't go in there. Ines can't go in there. So I don't see it as fair to put Serena and Ines on the same tier board and then call Serena overpowered. Serena is good at her content that she's allowed to play, and Ines is good at her content, but in the content that they're both capable of playing, they were at par. Freyna could keep up. Bunny could keep up. They're right there. The deal is they're trying to find a balance. I get that. That's good. But in my opinion, it can't just be the Descendants. They got to step up the content. And I know after the rebalance, the next step is to rebalance Void, Erosion, Purge. So in short, if you want to set the bar as Haley, Volby, and Viessa, then you need to make sure all the Descendants can play all the same content, including the Void bosses. Hey, that's just one man's opinion. What do you guys think? So here's the deal, fresh impressions. And like real talk here, she's been significantly nerfed. She hasn't been killed. The bad news is that her number 4, the cooldown, most builds are relying on her number 4 to be available, and all her survivability is built around that. Now it's not available with the current setups, most likely. Now yours might be different. Comprehensively, I have max cooldown on this build with everything included, and there's still a significantly long cooldown. On paper, it might not look that long, but in the heat of a battle, and 400% infiltrations and these spec ops when there's tons of enemies, it is too long of a cooldown to rely on that. Before, I could run her kind of glassy. With the current setup, I don't feel like it's the way to go. So there's some remedies here. There's some other mods we could bring in, but my point is that the nerf to her number 4, the cooldown, is enough to require you to change up your build. It's enough to make you feel glassy where you felt like you were untouchable before, but overall it felt like she was getting overwhelmed. The damage felt like it was there, but the cascading effects weren't as profound as before, and it made me feel like I didn't have enough range. The max expandable range is 200%, and we are exceeding cap. Range is peaked, yet it feels like I don't have enough range. And I think that has something to do with the continuous damage intervals. They're not striking as fast, and that's why she's getting overwhelmed. The outcome of this is that you're relying on her 1, 2, and 3 way more than ever before, which in a way, that part is a good thing. So you're leveraging and using more of her kit. It does make her a little bit more interesting and less boring. And I wouldn't say I felt weak, but definitely not as strong as before. And it does make this content, which by the way, I was just kicking its ass with Bunny, like an hour ago. A lot easier than with Ines because of her wind-up times to launch all of her skills. And now she's got less AoE impact. But we got a puzzle in front of us. I think I'm now gonna have to tweak my build and work around what they gave us here. That being said, she's not shit. She's still usable. She's definitely in the top 10 Descendants, but I'm not sure I would say she's in the top 3 anymore. These are just my first impressions. We'll see after I tweak her build. Drop your comments down below. Let's chat it out. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'm Tuxedo Bandido, and if you found this video helpful, be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on the good stuff I have coming for you. And if you like content like this, be sure to check out the video I have recommended for you right here. If you have anything you would like me to cover, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make things possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be the same without you.
When you buy or download anything for the first Descendant, be sure to use Tux's creator code to support the channel. Easy peasy.
Wait, did we just become best friends?